I am Jalen Medale. I will be interviewing my father, Nathan Medale. Question 1. What role do you play in your community?
The biggest role I play in my community is I try to be the best neighbor and citizen in my community.
What is your definition of community?
Um, I think my biggest definition is just community is just a group of people that are working together for one common goal.
Question 2. How have you Question 2. How have you been impacted by your community?
I think that the violence in my community make me feel a little worried when my kids are traveling within my community or traveling within the city as a whole. So just the violence as a whole impacts my community.
How would your life be different if you lived in a different city or town?
I'm really not sure how my life would be different. I could be less worried about violence if I lived in a safer place, I guess.
Question 3. If you could change anything about your community, what would it be and why?
I think the biggest change would be for everybody to come together as a whole. I think that's the biggest change. I think that would then the issues in our community could be addressed because the people that are destroying it will know that there's people and togetherness in the community.
How do you think your community is viewed by others and why?
I think people just give my community a bad rep just because of all the nonsense that they hear or see on television.
And why?
Because it's forced on people, and it's negative perception that's forced on people.
Question 5. If you think the view is wrong or unfair, is there a way to change how your community is viewed by others? How?
Yeah, I think it needs to stop being shoved down people's throat. The images, perception, all should be changed.
Question 6. All cities have to deal with issues like violence. How does the issue of violence in Chicago compare to other major cities?
It's violence in Chicago, but I think there's many cities whose violence is greater than Chicago. I think Chicago is just the highlighted city at this time.
Question 7. What are the top 3 issues that you would like to address and start a dialogue with your community about Chicago?
I think the violence is one, unemployment is another one, and the educational system.
Question 8. If you were in charge of the media, what would you show? What would you change? What would you change to change the perception of how people view your community?
I think we should have more positive stories, images, and headlines about all communities, not just mine.
How do you see Chicago in the future? Is it good or bad?
I think with the gentrification that's going on, the future of Chicago will look much different than it does right now. It's good and bad.
Question 10. What questions would you like us to ask the community?
The biggest question would be when we all come together and work on all the common goals together.
And finally, what do you think worked during this interview, and what do you think we need to work on to make the process of interviewing people better?
I really don't have any suggestions about the interview. I think the questions all lined up with one another, so it was pretty good setup.
Thank you.